Good afternoon, at least to our participants in Europe, because we have registered participants also from the USA and also from Australia. But I think from the current list that we are overwhelmingly some from Europe, and therefore we can start and maybe not to wait for other participants. So my name is Attila Toth, and I am today also a moderator for our meeting. And the meeting, let us start with presentation. The core subject was to outline a Telework EU mission. So what is the mission of our group? And this is the second formation meeting. I am very glad that since the last week meeting, the number of registrations increased by 300%, and also the one-to-one messaging was very intensive between me and the participants. So really, this means that this bottom-up initiative has support, not only on the level of policymakers, but also on the levels of experts, specialists, domain experts. So concerning the organization, so I would accept or prefer this meeting would be highly interactive. So you can stop me anytime, and my role is only to navigating the subjects. And also my colleagues will monitor the chat box, the meeting, and you can raise your questions. You can also raise hand and stop me anytime, because my role is not to occupy the floor. And all resources of this meeting and any other meetings are recorded, are posted in a Telework EU LinkedIn group. So please, if you want to be connected and follow our activities, so join the group and you will be updated. So I will promise to you that nothing missed if you join this group. So now let's go to the, unless there are some questions to the program. If no, so we try to have the duration of around 60 minutes of our session. If something left to present, we can continue next Wednesday. The agenda. So the core topic of the agenda is a mission statement and scope of activities formulated by me. Of course, this is a proposal. I am a catalyst on it. And then, of course, the mission statement contains some objectives, and these points 1, 2, 3, 4 are the examples or incentives, inspirations how to achieve these objectives. So telework as a business process, this is the core technical concept and the new upgrade of the concept. Then capital, knowledge capital, so we need to build the expert network, will be also in the mission, how we share the knowledge, and how we make the dialogue with telework policymakers. And point number 5 is practical, how we should cooperate together, because this is an ecosystem. So this is meaning that it is not only scientific cooperation, but also commercialization of the knowledge on several levels. And number 6, any other business, we make a poll to get the feedback from you about points of the subjects of the meeting. So don't go away. Please stay until end of the meeting because I am very keen to know your opinion by completing this poll. Okay, so here is the proposed mission statements. Too much. So
Thank you.
so far it was only speaking. So and now we go to our main topic. So the mission statement. So you have seen it because you received anyway the agenda. So this I outlined before, and now the mission statement is here. There are 4 points. Maybe you can read. I don't want to repeat it. Are there any comments? Maybe later on, because all these points we will then develop, discuss in the other points. So start with the telework as a business process. So here are topics proposed by members of the Telework EU group. Formal definition of the telework business process, generic and sector specific, and by life cycle of the telework business process. So this is a subtopics. What should be a telework implementation process if some organization wants to introduce it? What is the operational process? What have to care about this? What is the change management process? And finally, thanks to Dejan Košutić from 27001 Academy, he proposed and also a telework compliance approach. So have to achieve ISO compliance for telework. So you can find this link and his advice in this, not in this article, but also on the Telework EU site. This is one thing. So for this is only the task outlining proposed, but we have 2 other concrete subtopics which will be presented. The first one in the Organization of Telework Maturity Model by Peter Sveda, and also Telework Change Management Approach by Albana Brioni. And then we will have later on in this meeting also direct inputs of meeting participants. So now I think we can go to the maturity model. I put here the purpose to measure readiness of organization to operate telework services. And you outline 6 components, what we will...
Yes, it is like 360 review. So it is not only the organizations, it is also about the legislation which has to be supporting teleworking. Otherwise, this wouldn't be well controlled, well organized.
Okay, but organization has no influence on the legislation.
Yes, but legislation has influence on the organization. So as you gave the example last week in Luxembourg, so you have a national regulator, financial services regulator, which gave the circular, provided circular to all entities on the market, and all entities have to be compliant with this circular.
Yes.
So it's I would say it is a big playground for all participants which form this entire universe.
Yes. So can we start in the details? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Can we go in the details?
Okay. Just for all participants in this meeting, this is a proposal and work in progress. So I would welcome everyone who has better knowledge than I do, especially in some areas which I'm not very experienced at. To provide your thoughts and to provide your inputs on how we could improve it. So I'll start with legislation. So legislation, when we look at the landscape of countries within the European Union, we have some countries where telework is recognized, and some countries where they're still in the process of defining it. So traditionally, there is weak support on the telework on the telework from the national bodies, and this hopefully will be changing soon, so that we could say that the legislation improved and got to the advanced level. So at the advanced level, I would say a good example is Czech Republic or Slovakia, where this is already quite well supported, and it gives a very good basis for how to organize telework at the corporation. Nevertheless, at the optimal level, it is, as we say, for every capability maturity model, you have to be able to measure things. So ideally, the legislation would provide KPIs based on which you can measure telework and based on which you can report back to the national bodies. One important thing to mention is that in this legislation framework, it is also the Workers' Council part, which is very, very important, and it's, in my opinion, we cannot provide or legislation cannot be well structured without their input. So Workers' Council has to step into the process and also provide some kind of frameworks and guidances on this. We can go to the next slide. So corporate policies. Corporate policies, again, traditional, advanced, optimal, and traditional. You can read yourself, but normally we have teleworking where it's defined at a certain level, and there is some distinction in between what teleworking is and what the business traveling is. At the advanced level, it is better organized. There are clear conditions for teleworking. The national laws are integrated within the internal policies. Not only national laws, but also the industry regulations, and of course it also defines the percentage of how much staff can be teleworking at the time. At the optimal level, we would say that, or my proposal is that there is KPI reportings to the management, and all the regulators and all these. I made a mistake because their industry regulators are at the optimal level. So let's go to the next slide. So I really would like encourage everyone to help me to elaborate on the corporate policies, if you had knowledge. At the workplace, from my experience, I saw three kind of levels. One is traditional, where your company gives you a company-owned device, and you can connect to your company via VPN. I can say the organization I work with, we're at the advanced level, so employees can connect via two types of devices. So this is bring your device or company device, and at the optimal level, you as the organization, it is very similar to the advanced level, but with one very big difference. You apply company policies on the bring your device. So there are some solutions on the market where you can push company policies for security, for setup of the computer to the foreign computer, and you only allow connection of such computer, such device to your VPN network or whatever network application, and so on. Next slide, please. So operating model. Operating model is this is more about how the organization should be running the telework. It is traditionally Organizations have a list of employees. They know, okay, they telework. It is manually processed. Not much of automation, and there is a non-existent support to telework employees. Something like, oh, I have a connection problem, I have this kind of problem, and so on, and so forth. For the advanced level, this improves. So there is from you. You provide better tools, for requesting, better tools for maintaining the telework. So, for some examples, you have a tool through which employee can request the telework. Then there is an approval process. Then you have some kind of reporting of suspicious activities to management, regulator, government bodies, etc. Then you have online trainings which you do not have to go to on-premise to have a training, but everything is online. So you're digitalizing things which are currently carried out at the personal level. You're digitalizing it and bringing it online. For the optimal level, as stated in here, it is booking of teleworking hours, approval of overtime, so entire handling of all this is digitalized, and you can you do not see the difference in between whether you work in the office or you are working at home. So all processes are set up for you and are trying to enable you. Next slide, please. So this is a very interesting topic, and I really would like once again encourage people to contribute to this, because from my organization, point of view, we were trying to calculate what is the cost per employee on premise and cost of company-owned device, and then you just we kind of thought, okay, hold on, but we have to look at the things slightly differently. So we have to introduce some subcategories, and some of the subcategories, which is these categories are bringing you to the advanced level, is cost per employee when telework, cost performance analysis. So we have to know whether the same amount of work has been completed when on premise and when telework. So, for instance, in my organization, we figure out that people were able to deliver the same amount of work, and in some areas they even delivered more than that. At the optimal level, the company would also would provide some financial contribution. I heard about some companies in the industries where, for instance, around the Christmas time, they gave 500 euros to every employee to cover cost for heating and so on, electricity. But nevertheless, this is at the company level. They're also discussing whether there shouldn't be any standardized contribution to pay for internet and other expenses associated with the telework. Let's go to the next slide. So security. Security is a big thing in telework, and everything is kind of somehow associated to how to make sure that the right people have access to the right data at the right time. And in the traditional model, this was handled via traditional setup, security setup. You have on-premise identities. Your applications run on-premise, so you have few network segmentations. So, and in between networks, you could move freely without any authorization. Then data, for instance, some organization, they classify the data. So the data classification was done, is done manually, and access to the network. It is access to the data or to the documents or to the applications is not governed by the data sensitivity, but it's governed by the network. So in the advanced and optimal, I kind of blend it together. So in the ideal world, every time there is someone trying to get to some information, you access this connection through several viewpoints. So one viewpoint is you consider the identity. Okay, do you know this person? Yes, I know. Well, maybe I don't know. Okay, if you don't know, the person is not admitted. Then do I know the device? Yes. I know the device, or I look at the device. Oh, is the device compliant? Because it could be bring your device, so your personal device, and you see, okay, the device based on the report I have, it is compliant. Okay, so I can let this device to come through. Another thing is network. So you can, for instance, put your very sensitive data in one network, and you just make sure that this person is coming from the right network, and that the person is accessing this application from your internal network, so it's not outside network or something strange. Then infrastructure is the same. So network and infrastructure, they just kind of blend together and they create one form. Location. This is also very, very important because, for instance, a good example is Czech Republic. In the Czech Republic, if you want to telework, you cannot telework from abroad, because I mean telework in the understanding of home working. Yeah, you cannot telework from abroad, because you based on the Czech law, you shouldn't be accessing any business application from outside of the Czech Republic. The same is a similar thing is in Luxembourg. Then, for instance, you might have contractual terms, etc. So there will be also when this algorithm, which will be determining whether you can go in or you can go out, it will also assess your location. And the last thing is data sensitivity. So data sensitivity is a big thing. And for instance, we can, I'll give you a good example. You know, in the financial industry, there's been a lot of fraud which happened over the past few years. Some very famous examples of it happen. And when we look at those patterns which happened during those time when this was happening, for 99 cases it was outside of business hours. Somebody was accessing some data outside of business hours. So for instance, at the data sensitivity, you can go and you can set up your system in a way that you can access confidential and strictly confidential data from 6 to 6 during the day. But outside of this, you cannot access strictly confidential or confidential data. So even though you have access, you have all the privileges, you cannot open this file, you cannot open this application. So in a nutshell, this is the proposal. I would like to invite everyone to contribute, and let's get it to the point where we can be happy about what we've put here. And the next stage, there are some ideas where we could develop this maturity model too. One of the ideas is we could have some kind of a web page where every organization could run this assessment against their current setup, so then they can see where they position themselves against this model. Thank you.
Thank you. We do thank you, Peter. Really, this is a very comprehensive idea and the first assignment, a common assignment for our ecosystem. So, questions, please. Maybe not questions, but who want to join the task force led by Peter? Who wants to participate or can participate in developing this maturity model? Okay, so I hope you are a little bit ashamed, but we have also then another point where we can have questions, but now we will then continue to our second presentation by Albana Vrioni. Vrioni Consultant is a well-known expert company in Brussels and EU-wide on change management, and Albana Vrioni is guest speaker of many TED events and top events about the process management and change management. But I will give the floor to Albana.
I want to start by first thanking Peter for that insightful overview on the maturity factors or measuring the maturity for teleworking. I think it's a beautiful work, and I was wondering whether I had to raise the hand, but I'd definitely love to join the efforts and just be of support in there, as I see that there are some common points with the way that I have been reflecting on the possible roadmap for enabling that, let's say, that transformation, or for accelerating that transformation that we are so much talking about for the workforce of the future. And I had a presentation last week on the International Association of Generative Change, on the topic of fluid workforce ecosystem. And so I want to bring an echo of that presentation and the link that it has got with teleworking, and happy to share more at another occasion. So we can go to the next one. So, and it's true, here I'm holding a conversation from a change management perspective, as I'm sure that we will be able to come pretty soon with some very interesting technical solutions on all the possible aspects, from technology, security, organizational models, and any other model that we're thinking of. But one main opinion for my perspective needs to be considered into having that conversation, and that is of what is it that this teleworking at the very end is going to enable? What is the very purpose of it? And that, of course, our association or our project might have a very good idea of that, but the whole idea is how can it be shared? How that can be shared in a broader stakeholder perspective. And what I love with what you, Attila, are enabling here is that is a change crowdsourcing perspective, bringing that variety of stakeholders into that conversation. But into having teleworking as an enabler of the workforce for the future, which I call the fluid workforce ecosystem, we need to look at how can we upregulate the benefits of it, but how can we downregulate the very disadvantages? As change management is about risk management, reducing risks and increasing opportunities. And when we talk about teleworking, it is, of course, as you said, a business, or we want to consider it as a business process. But with that and beyond that, it also is a strategy, and it's also a culture at the very end. And as we're talking about that, we want to see, okay, and how far can that be regulated? knowing that Europe by definition has got so many diverse cultures, so many and a rich diversity in regulations, can we envisage a European regulation? And to what extent can that be regulated? And to what extent do we want to give freedom for the diversity to manifest itself? And so we talked about what you're doing right now with approaching to that whole topic from a crowdsourcing perspective, collecting the opinions of the multiple stakeholders, as I do believe that that is very important in making a leap progress. And what I will share with you just a little bit later is that if we want to approach to this from a, let's say, creating a European culture on teleworking, then we might want also to think about a roadmap as an overall approach into guiding that shared approach to teleworking. And we can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So when I say that teleworking is enabling a fluid workforce ecosystem, it is kind of a vision that I have put together from talking to many business leaders in the organizations, and with very positive feedback on the conference last week. This fluid workforce ecosystem has got two elements, the element of fluidity and the element of an ecosystem, because we know that the workforce of today and of the near and the distant future will not be as it was in the past. We have left a traditional workforce model behind us. And as we're looking ahead, we are saying, okay, those elements of fluidity and the element of ecosystem need to take certain things into consideration. And teleworking is absolutely at the let's say, at the intersection of those two elements, because it enables the fluidity of the workforce and it enables the existence and the management of an ecosystem, the creation of an ecosystem. In here, I won't go into the details of that model, but what this model is conceived to represent is a way of thinking at the workforce as composed of different modalities, and to be able to help on modulating and optimizing the access to the required skills, where a certain type of skills cannot be found only in an organization, but it can be found in different ways, for example, on the basis of communities, which need to be accessed to real time with a just-in-time model of that model. But it also needs to coexist in hybrid modes, where we have got internal and external people working at the same time, employees and let's say partnerships and members from different ventures working at the same time. When human workers and robots can work at the same time. And while having that hybrid type of workforce, also having an augmented workforce where on one side we upskill the workforce according to what is the most needed skill to be able to support the advancement of technology and the changing of the business model. At the very center, what we see is and that is, of course, a suggested model. And so what we see there at the core is what we want at the very end. So that shared purpose, when we talk about a model, that model needs to be guided by a shared purpose, which is very important in managing the change and especially into bringing that change at the European level, not just into one organization or only into one country. So as I said, in being able to have a fluid workforce ecosystem, and here I've presented a model to enable addressing it or representing it, teleworking is very important. And we can go to the next slide.
But before going there, Alban, please explain it. What is VUCA? I forgot. It was in your presentation also last
the
week.
VUCA. So we're still talking about VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous time. What we saw with COVID, the pandemic, not only we've got volatility of the demand and supply in the markets, of volatility of the economic market, but we also have got a very present uncertainty. So from one moment, from one week to another, we've got organizations that kind of had to change overnight their way of working. We had stock market and economic markets plunged and changing the way they were working. And that was such a huge uncertainty on what was coming next that increased not only the ambiguity of how things had to go forward, but also is rendering every other solution very complex. Like in what Peter addressed with his maturity model, and that's why I loved it, because it's trying to simplify, so to present in a simple way all the different areas where the organizations will have to grow and make some choices to be able to go ahead. But it has to be taken for real that we are living a very complex organizational context, social context, and economic and technological context. And being able to address the configuration or reconfiguration of the workforce and its management for the future is definitely not a matter of one company going on it alone, one country going on it alone. It is a lot more complex, so it will need a larger scope, a systemic reconfiguration, if you will.
Thank you. So we can continue.
Yeah, and so teleworking is at the core of making that fluid workforce ecosystem possible. And the other one is this possibility of the public dialogue. Public dialogue and simulating the co-creation and the engagement of the workforce on whatever is happening with the organization and the way the organization is developing. Now, if we will be moving into remote working, into teleworking or home offices as a new model that will stay for longer times there, now we have to find a solution on how do we engage our workforce into the future of the organization. And if we really want to have a workforce that is fluid, where we've got cross-fertilization of expertise, of the talents, of the cultures, of the dynamics, then we definitely want to be able to engage that workforce already by working remotely at a speed that would be difficult to maintain as is now. We might foresee some disengagement, and it's not what we want. Already the organizations are indicating that the performance is dropping. Some employees, of course, are working a lot more than they used to, but overall, within an organization, performance is dropping, and that aspect will need to be addressed with priority by most organizations. And change crowdsourcing is going to be, to my perspective, a very important lever to engage employees into the future of the organization and into improving performance, finding ways to improve performance. So, and here is a whole model. We can always find a way to incorporate that into the maturity metrics or the maturity work that Peter is working on. I think there are some very good fits there, some good elements that can be of mutual support for both models. And then we can go to the very last slide. Oh, there are two slides and more. And so we said, okay, what could be a roadmap And having accompanied organizations for quite a while on making important transformations, it becomes so clear that we need to be able to start with a mindset, to be able to go then to actions that are going to deliver the outcomes that we're looking for. And it can go both ways, starting with a shared purpose. What is it that we're trying to achieve with the workforce of the future? And what is, from what perspective, what mission, what values, what beliefs do we want to put into building that workforce? And then being able to find the right strategies that will enable the outcomes that we're looking for. Or going the other way around, what is it finally that we want to have? As we are having, as organizations are having those important pressures on having the right economic outcomes, what are some outcomes that the organizations are really striving to get? And from there going, okay, what strategies and what mindset do we need to have, and what kind of leadership do we want to have in place to be able to achieve those outcomes? So a two-way process, top-down and bottom-up, from mindset to strategies and actions to outcomes, and the other way around. Here, that is a model that I have adopted from the success factor modeling framework, which takes the leadership, the expert groups, and the broad organization into a conversation that creates a shared understanding of the purpose, focuses on the right strategies, and then creates the right momentum of adoption to be able to come to the results. And this is a layer approach of this roadmap implementation. So typically we'll start the conversation, as we're doing now, into the different representations of the interests. So from the shareholders, from the teams that would be eventually implementing or carrying forward the project, having representatives of the customers, representatives of the suppliers, of the communities of expertise. So identifying eventually all the stakeholders that at a layer of an organization or at a layer of an institution would be interested to carry forward that initiative and that project or that change. And from there, being able to identify and to model the purpose, the ambition, and the vision. Once we go from that layer, then we go top down into all the different logical layers that are made to support what we say, that engagement of the different stakeholders in the change. We want to be able to go away from the traditional methods where a regulation is being adopted, far from having those that are going to adopt or implement it and live with it in the day-to-day being involved into it. And this model allows us, as a roadmap, stage by stage, to take the different stakeholders around the conversation and be able to have a say on the different layers. So we go from the layer of the overall perspective to the layer of the mission, to the motivation, to energy that needs to be put in there, to actions, to turning obstacles into opportunities, and so on. So that is a model that I would very much be promoting to be able to support the transformation of the workforce for the future, and having teleworking supporting that transformation.
Thank you very much. So again, a new challenge, a new opportunity for us to work together. Thank you, Albana. We will come back to to this, how to start implementation in maybe in synergy with the model of maturity model, and maybe the process definition as a telework as a process definition. We still miss it, but there are some promises from the participants, business process architects. They are interested to start also in this level.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's go back after this in-depth presentation. Let us go back to the to our main presentation. We have this, and now we continue with the second objective of our mission. This is sharing knowledge and creating a capital. So in this field, our mission objective should be recruit policymakers, experts, service providers, share knowledge and solutions, seminar, webinars, and update profiles of local experts. So to have some repository, as of course we should have soon similar system like we have it in Slovakia, the home office. Slovakia, maybe we only take a snapshot, something like you can go in and you can search whatever is here is the internet, and then you have inside the news. I will show it later, but we'll not lose the time, because if you are interested, then we can anytime give you then access. And here is also small task, logo of Telework EU. So please give us some proposal for logo, because this logo we use this home office ecosystem, and as I see in the Western Hemisphere, they use instead of home office telework. So maybe we have to have a new logo also. Okay, so let's go to the third objective on the knowledge sharing of our group or our ecosystem. Here again, here are some examples. Maybe I would like to show you only some good example. Here is some company templates, for example, the project, how to introduce the project, a project plan. I think there is a Gantt chart, but this is must be maybe upgraded. So it is something like 3 months project we counted for the first phase of introduction, because this should be introduced by department. And according to Microsoft, home office introduction takes years. So of course it depends on the scope. So but coming back. So this is, let us go further. And the fourth objective, dialogue with the telework policymakers. So our group, our ecosystem members should find contact for connection and information sharing with the local policymakers on member state levels and also on EU level. So this is also a task. We have a question in our poll, but we come to this later on. But how to persuade the telework? So the policymaker, the telework has impact. What are the impacts for society, for companies, for employees? Of course, there are some drawbacks, but what outweighing? I think the impacts is the benefits outweighing the disadvantage, and mainly to have a doable legislation maximizing the impacts. So this legislation should be implemented without jeopardizing of the benefits. Okay, and of course we also need contact and overview about the legislation to gain financial support, grants for uptake of telework governance. So even the activity of our network, our ecosystem. This I discuss in the next slide. And also, so please interrupt me as soon as you have some questions. And here we have the moment for additional questions and contributions of participants. I had today morning messaging with Paul Rubik, member of the board of European Institute of Technology. I don't think he told that, not sure he can attend. So is he here, Mr. Rubik? Paul, are you here? Moderator, technical moderator.
Excuse me. No, he is not here.
So anyway, we are in contact and we can count on Mr. Rubik to advise us on our road mapping or on scoping of our project for the Horizon Europe. We discuss it after, of course, maybe next meeting. And I have a pleasure, Mr. Kutzer. Peter Kutzer is here. I don't see the attendant. So
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So Peter, I would like to explain us the government cloud services available. We have a typo, yeah, available. We will change it. Available in Slovakia. You told me, but I think this would be interesting also to other members. So please, Peter. Maybe he will come back. We have also Pascal Dessart for Westpol. Yesterday, cloud services. They providing cloud services for European institutions, and he was keen to present their services. Is here, Pascal? Are you here? So therefore, it's good to record our meetings. We have two gentlemen from Australia, Chris Pop and Daniel Jacob. You know, but maybe they are already sleeping. It is night, so we will be glad to be in touch and share your legislation in Australia on telework, because this was very interesting, and also for Daniel, your participation of business process model of telework. Okay, and other questions, please? Other contributions? The presenter is Peter Sveda. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said, Peter. Yeah.
Yes.
And he was asking some help for his work, and I just reviewed his slides about legislation, corporate policies. I think the legislation part, I don't think I would like to get involved, but the cost management, security, operating model, I think if I will contact with him, we can discuss, or I can probably support some input
Very
for
good.
him.
Very good. Thank you.
Hopefully,
Thank
yeah. For
Thank you.
before next week, yeah.
Thank you. Sorbansky, Juraj, please. What is your impression about telework? As a university professor, what is your impression that we are doing something without the blessing of research and academic?
You know, that's necessary to accept such a huge number of information, because they are pretty new information. It's very, very difficult to give you my personal opinion.
Yes.
One point which is missing for me is social effect.
Yes.
Are we going to replace personal contact with telework, or
No.
how it looks like this moment?
Yes, this is good. We don't say that telework is 100%. This we have to have the balance between social working as workplaces and teleworking, and of course We are not limited to the technicalities, but we are still searching psychologists, sociologists, you know, they are open. So therefore I told the last week meeting that this is very multidisciplinary project to introducing in telework. But so far we are majority here at technicalities. Of course, Albana is already open this issue, and she can outweigh a little bit the engineering spirit of this group.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. So
Yes.
logical models, the logical layers of looking at the roadmap of making this change work do in fact incorporate those social effects also. Be that in terms of stakeholders participate in the conversation, but also in terms of solutions and solutions to the problem, but also into defining what is the purpose, the final purpose for doing that, and having the social agenda part of the purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Probably short information. I am sure that everybody is well informed that in the Slovak labor code, telework is defined following the Slovak laws, which is very precisely describe the whole telework concerning the Slovakia in labor code.
Yes, yes. We presented last week. Yes.
Okay, because I didn't part the last week.
Yes, sorry.
Then sorry, but the repetition
Yes.
is mother of the wisdom.
Mother of wisdom, exactly. Yes. Thank you. You're right. Okay. So maybe we can continue at any time.
Yes.
So now this question, take the poll, please. I request all of you. The link is on the chat window. Am I right? The meeting window is published. Everybody can see this link.
Yes, we can.
Yes, I have it. When do you need the response? Today or?
Now, please, now, because
Right now?
now we
Okay,
told
I will
everything, at least the main part. So there are
I have
de
sent
facto
mine.
4 questions. So what you think, what is the impact of telework, because this is how you see it, and then our mission, what was presented, maybe you don't agree, and then the 4th question, your role in participating. I put country coordinators, so I didn't mention, but there is in there that we need country coordinators, really. So as I mentioned, this is a heavy duty job to keep the people, to find the professions, to get them on board and in synergy. So I know it from Slovakia because I made this job and I am still doing this job, but I think it has results. So, but I don't say that everybody wants to be a resident. Well, you can choose, can have a choice, several choices, but country coordinators welcome, and also topics for the next meeting, next week meeting. What do you prefer? And you have always other topics option.
Yeah.
So as soon as you finish, when you tell you finish, but we can wait a little bit, and then.
Teraz ma počujete? Can you hear
Peter,
me
ťa
now?
počujeme.
Okay, finally, but I am calling from the mobile phone.
Ah, good.
Okay.
So government
Connecting.
cloud services available for telework.
Okay. I would like to put in two points that Slovakia government is using cloud services which are defined by legislation. And the easiest way is if there is any cloud services for telework is go through the certification process. What is easy because there is no a lot of security, and to have the application as software as a service, and then this give opportunity to everybody to use these directly as certified services which are published in cloud services for Slovakia. This is my information, but what is important is that still Slovak government has a lot of EU funds, and my proposal is all this job which is done, and especially legislation, can be financed through any funds. I know that I mentioned a Horizon, but there is still the funds for infrastructure and computer services. And what we only need is to find, let's say, somebody who will allow us to build a pilot around this, and then work with this public administration, that somebody who is really receiving the funds, and we can help them. We can help them to write the proposal and to ask for the European funds, which need to be spent by 2023. Usually the process could be a little bit longer because just to write the proposal is about 3 months, and to approve the proposal or to sign the contract to receive EU funds is another 3 months. That if we will start by beginning of the summer, then probably we can have the contract signed by at the end of the year. That it gives us window opportunity to deliver the product for another 2 years or 1 year and 9 months, because about 3 months needs to be for officials to check if everything was spent according to legislation. Okay, therefore, if there is any idea from the group whom we can use as the pilot, could be Ministry of Investment or Ministry of Labor, or anybody who can benefit from this telework, then let's discuss this offline, and then we can do next steps. But basically, I like in the presentation when there was this cost-based analysis, that in my personal feeling, let's say gut feeling, is that this will be easy to prove, that there is a lot of benefits also from the cost point of view as well. Okay, this is one thing. And the second is really that even if anything is already prepared, we can put this on a cloud catalog, and then the process to obtain this is a little bit more difficult, but because of public procurement. But still, I think if this will be the pilot and it will be below 70,000 euro per year, this can be still doable in let's say quick win, and we can try this without European funds, just to go with the state budget.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So again, you can contact each other concerning this availability. Maybe Vespol from Brussels also can contribute. And now, please, did you complete the poll or not yet? Only 8, so not too much. 8, but so what is important and more very important, you see that everything is more very important than important. Okay. And maybe you don't agree to improve the work-family balance if telework helps. Or yes. Okay, but let's say mission of the telework. So mission is almost equally, and we have other four. So we will read, not now, because this is anonymous. And here, what we see, sorry. So country coordinators, we have four. Okay, so we will analyze and publish it, of course, as I told, everything on Telework EU LinkedIn group. And what we should have meeting for this week, legislation, okay, in member states. So Telework implementation roadmap. I think this was the, yes. But this is not yet representative. So thank you anyway. And if you have time, please complete this poll. It takes a couple of minutes. Okay. Thank you. And now the last point is I think also important point is our cooperation, rules for our cooperation. This slide. And I will enlarge it. Sorry. Here. So I think now we are getting to the point where we have to set the rules because our community is growing. Together we have de facto more than 120 inquiries, contact, that means request for participation on the meeting or one-to-one discussions. So now we should somehow standardize the modus of our collaboration. Of course, by my opinion, the first modus is who joined the Telework EU group is member of the ecosystem. This is the first condition to identify ourselves. And this reason can be several. It can be as a knowledge worker, creative, or only observer, sometimes posting something. And now within our system, within our group, the Telework EU group, I proposed 4, I think, categories, but we can change also. You can read them: research, publication, and post in Telework EU group. So this should be open for learning, for education, and for further research and improvement, commenting. So this is everything what is published in the group, LinkedIn group, or maybe we will develop the portal similar like Telework Slovakia. There's a repository. This has access for the identified members have access. The second, when the group or somebody present some pilot, prototype, or products, this may be methodology, design, IT application. So it should be again free for non-commercial use, but the license of IPR should be always managed, and for commercialization, when he wants to resell and use it for business, should have a license from license to use from the owner on the group of owners. And third one is the joint private projects for free for non-commercial again, but project owner must approve and agree. And when we have a public project, so from public money, what I am not decided, but probably are already identified the project objectives on the next week meeting. Then members should be, how to say it, they have priority right to participate in these project implementation. And concerning the management below, knowledge management rules will be maintained by the core team. And who is the core team? This will be, I think, flexible, the most active 5 persons in the group. So elected by the Telework EU group. So this is the proposal, proposal to discuss. So please, if you have some proposal now, please go ahead. If not, not now, please send me a message. You have my email on the first page or first slide or on the LinkedIn messaging. So some immediate questions, please. If not, then thank you very much for your participation, and I'm looking forward to meet you again on 28 April, and please complete the form and please join the Telework EU LinkedIn group. This will be indication for me and for you all who has some interest to work together in this ecosystem. That's all from my part. Thank you very much again for your kind activities during the week and your excellent presentations